Don't forget to suck some titties.
You know, accents. Accident. I cracked my voice, and I start this show whenever I want. I still crack my fucking voice. Accents. For whatever reason, people are so defensive about it. Especially New Yorkers and Boston. They're so protective of when they watch a movie or they hear someone they know is imitating, and they're so harshly critiqued when, look, I'm a Southern boy. I've been around Southern belles. And never when someone is trying to imitate or over-exaggerate do we get upset about it. Or do we feel like the world should stop and hear our criticism about it. With that being said, I was watching 13 Days. Yes, that's a movie. With Kevin Costner in it. It has to do with the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I was listening to it. I'll watch it. I'm like, look, I watch enough movies that take place in Boston. And people are from there. And they're very adamant of, you know, how it's supposed to be done. And they can spot a phony, or they can spot what's wrong with it. And they can ruin the whole movie for it. And Kevin Costner, it was like, I was watching, I was like, you know, at first it's like, all right, I could tell he's playing a Boston native. And then, like, I'm listening, I'm like, why do I feel like this doesn't sound, you know, I'm in no place, I'm not from there, nothing like that. And even I'm like, all right, man. Like, I knew, you know, like you listen or watch something, you're like, I know the people who this actually affects is like just rolling in their bed and their grandmother's rolling in their grave from secondhand embarrassment. And you know, I was watching, I'm like, I bet he really thinks that he's like killing this shit. I bet Kevin Costner, who did that movie, no one on set was going to correct that man. In case you don't know his history, he has a tendency to overtake movies. And he's very kind of controlling, you know, and that's not a bad thing. But if he's going to be part of a project, he's going to make the project. And I don't think anyone was going to tell him, like, hey, man, you know, you can ease up on it a little bit. But, yeah, you know, it got me to thinking, you know, I don't know if it's cultural. I hate that term. You know, my view on the word culture, I think it's one of the most overused. It's one of the most misused as well. We kind of just presume culture with steadiness or just repeated behavior with whether it's a group of people, whether that's race, religion, city, from an area, regional. And accents are one of those things that it really only seems to affect the people that really are the most hyper defensive about things. The ones that are most aggressive, like New Yorkers and Boston. It's like, hey, like, if you weren't so aggressive, everyone wouldn't, you know, have terrorist attack on your towns. All right, that was a bit too much. But, you know, but the thing that was, when I was watching it, I'm just kind of like, it's a serious movie. And it was actually, you know, I haven't finished it, but it's a pretty good movie so far. And it really gets me thinking, like, if you go to Greece and you start trying to speak Greek, people are probably going to look at you kind of weird, like, this dude definitely doesn't know how to speak Greek. But they're not going to be so hyper defensive. Even Spanish. Probably, you know, you go to Spanish-speaking countries or states or cities. You know, if they know you can't speak Spanish, they're probably going to try to accommodate you, like try to use sign language or write down, or you point out what you're talking about. They're not get upset about it. But God forbid, if you just, you know, say the court order, a little too non-cultural accent-wise, you know, you're the worst person in the fucking world. And it kills everything. Instead of being like, hey, that was weird. You know, it's all right. Not the biggest deal in the world. You fuck up a Boston or New York accent, and you go to this place, bro, like, they act like you, like, you know, inappropriately touched their teenage daughter, you know. It's a wild world we live in. Because, you know how, like, when you see something, you're like, I know the world had a field. Like, if we had the hyper online internet criticism portal that we have now, that we did in the year 2000 when this movie came out, oh my god, like the stories they be having about Snow White, the shit talking about that, the shit talk we had the second a movie comes out, bro, this movie would have been absolutely demolished just off something that's so insignificant. The greater things, like, everyone knows, all right, he's establishing his character from where he's from, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's not supposed to be the most perfect Boston accent. But for people, like, that can ruin a whole movie, and they'll focus on the most insignificant parts instead of focus on, yeah, but damn, you played a good Jack Ryan. But yeah, it's almost like, it reminds me of the Reacher, where when Tom Cruise played him, which, by the way, I remember I saw the first Reacher. It was actually, I thought it was a pretty decent movie. And then they made the Amazon series with the Alan Rickson guy. And people are like, yeah, that's who Reacher's supposed to be like. It's like, I don't know. When I watched the original Reacher, it never bothered me that he wasn't 6'2". I mean, I would be afraid of him, you know. But look, I get it. You know, and it got me down a rabbit hole of, there was a movie, I'm trying to remember exactly. But there was a movie, I think, with Scarlett Johansson, where they played it was like a cyberpunk movie. And I forgot the exact name, but basically, they casted a lot of white people to play Asians. So, as you can expect in the current day and age, that did not go over well. And they had to apologize just for making the movie. And they tried to cut the movie to basically minimal amount of screen time. Try to make it PG-13. Get as much forgiveness as possible because they knew they were going up against a wedge saw. And it just like, all right, but was the movie decent? And a lot of people actually enjoyed the movie, apparently. But it just gets me thinking the most insignificant things we focus on. Like, I'm a Georgia boy, Southern boy. If someone goes around trying to, you know, put a little twang on their, hey there, honey, I'm not going to, you know, even though I know what they're doing, like, all right. No, because 90% of people here don't actually talk like that. And that's the weird part. Like, they have a voice and an accent that the most predominant, strongest accents are like very few and far in between. It's present. It may come out here and there in certain people. For the most part, most people just speak, I don't know how to explain it, regular. Like, you go to Boston, probably like 80% of people don't have a quote-unquote Boston accent. You go to New York, most people don't have a New York accent. Because, one, it's a transient city. It's a place that people travel to. People that move from out of place. And typically people that live there are priced out there. You know, if we're being honest about it. So, yeah. Most people that live in the valley, dude, don't talk like that. But it's weird how just one consonant, I don't know if that's a term, but it sounds right. A consonant of a consistent accent that we associate with a region. If someone is supposed to be a sole representative in a feature film or a representative in a political office or something, and they don't 100% fit the quote-unquote original the originality check that we would check that for, we automatically just discredit the whole operation. You know, it's almost like when Obama was president. Not getting political here, but obviously there was like, how black is he? His religion aspects. What percentage is this and all this stuff, and it's like, I mean, okay, but you're not really. It doesn't take away from the bigger picture. We're going to focus on this little aspect and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just the point of when we have a stubborn association with something, it can completely distract you from the mission. And going back to the movie, I'll be honest, it did kind of distract me from the movie at times. Like, I was kind of laughing every time it would be these serious talks, because I could not, like, once I heard the little extraness, I just could not stop laughing. I was like, be like, now, John, if you take the court order, I can't even do that. If we take the court order, see, I'm trying to do in New York, I can't even do it. But you know what? That's okay. But I'm not trying to represent a Boston native either. So, keep your green monster to yourself. But yeah, welcome to episode 336 of the Off and Be podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, most important, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Recording this on May 19th, 2025 for the archives. Yeah. Today's drink is Kool-Aid. Rise. Yep. Part of me what maybe, I recorded an episode that I actually posted one last night. I'm trying to get back on the ball rolling. I'll be honest, I did not necessarily plan to record an episode today, but I feel like, and part of being authentic to myself and kind of to bring sanity back to my life, because I feel like not doing this consistently, it has me be too obsessed with other things. I'll be honest, man, like, I'm an angry guy. I lose my shit. Men don't like to lose. Men are we are these devilish, necessary, evil characteristics of ourselves that make us who we are, that make us do the great things that we're capable of. But you feed into those demons just once or twice, and it can offset all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't like losing. And I'm not really like an ultra competitive guy like that. What I mean by losing is I don't like feeling like I can't do nothing right. You go through a cold streak, you go through like a Chris Davis in 2015 MLB season, I believe was, where he went like, 38 straight at bats without getting on base. He went like 50 straight at bats without a hit. It was like one of the most insanely incompetent and inept streaks. I'm going through that right now with trading. But I don't want to make this about trading, but trading is a symptom of the worst parts of yourself. And what I want to get into, and it's just on my mind, is like, bro, like I'm a grown man and I have childish issues, I'm laughing about it, but I'm not joking. And I guess to say this to maybe guys that are younger than me, guys my age, and even guys that are older, that it gets me to thinking that, from the outside world in general, you will be shamed for having angry feelings, for taking your anger out. And I think, for one, you should always be okay with the fact that you feel angry. Being angry itself showing anger, being mad, is actually not a problem. Obviously, don't beat the shit out of people, but if you're going to hurt anyone, hurt yourself. Punch your thighs, punch your boobs, whatever you got to do. By boobs, I mean the guys, because it'll still hurt a lot less than if you ladies try to punch yours. I don't know if you've accidentally slapped the ladies a whoop whoop, but that is a experience. It is not something that gets out of your head. Oh, it's a formula is expensive, but $58 for a can, just for shit that smells like yeast. But they'll tell you the kids need it. But no, anyways, I do believe that anger it's honestly, it's one of those things that you can never get rid of. And the number one thing, in my opinion, that I think you just got to accept that it's a part of you. When you have quote unquote anger issues, people will say, you can't control your temper. You don't have a strong ability yet to really use it healthily, as people will say. What I'll tell you is that we live in a world where society kind of just tells us that we're not allowed to react to what we see. We're not allowed to see things for what they are. We're not allowed to feel incompetent about ourselves. We're just supposed to pretend and act like we are the greatest thing that ever fucking walked this earth. And our shit don't stink. Well, the number one way we acknowledge our shit stinks is by being angry at ourselves. Anger is honestly typically an emotion that comes out when you feel less about yourself, about something. Typically, if you notice, a lot of men out here are angry over a couple things. One, when they feel like they aren't good enough to do, let's just say for most guys around my age, when they feel like they are not good enough to be able to be as successful as they aspire to be. Or when they feel like they do a lot of, they feel like they're putting all the work they need to, and there's just nothing coming from it. You do something for a long time, there's nothing coming from it. You get guys who feel like they have a lack of success with women, regardless of their success in other areas. So that's when you get these guys that are quote unquote incels. These guys take all their anger out on women who blame a lot of other things because throughout life they're told they do X, Y, and Z, the woman will come to them. And then women are still with guys who ain't shit when you think you are the shit. So you must think they're the problem, right? When really, the truth wasn't told to you, And thirdly, it's when people always want to put you in a box, right? Like, throughout my whole life, everyone always says that your anger is an issue. It does you no good to feel that anger. You just need to learn how to cope with it. I had a therapist when I was younger, and the word of cope, it always made me want to just cope my balls. Like, God, the word means absolutely nothing. Coping, when you hear the word cope, it's an excuse to just be like, hey, you just gotta eat that shit up. And from a young age, you're just told to eat that shit up. Eat that anger up and deal with it. And what they don't realize is what they do is they make you pretend that you go through a lot of years of your life where you learn to not be angry. And then, but because you just ignored your anger for the longest time, you never actually acknowledge things along the road of what made you unhappy. and dissatisfied. And then all the shit just hit you in a week and a half and fucking NVIDIA. No. But, God, I fucking hate NVIDIA. These fucking Chinese chip stocks. The fuck you in the ass, you know. But neither here nor there. I sound like a psycho right now, but I promise you. Not medically. But you go through these when you have a lot of anger in your youth and you become grown-ish, you become an adult, and you realize those anger feelings don't go away. And that's an uncomfortable truth. But people are just like, you just need to act like they don't exist. It's like... Or what we have created is we've created a world where we want a group of people to be inauthentic, but we want everyone else to be themselves. And we just want everyone to live in this bubble of you can only feel these emotions and be comfortable with them. You know, I kind of, people make fun of these homeless people in subways. They're just screaming and shouting jazz lyrics and all this stuff, And I kind of get it because I think people get to when you get to that point in your life, you have nothing to lose. You're like, I just wish I was this free in the way I can speak without caring. That's the one thing, like, I'm not saying be homeless and, live in a subway and all that stuff, but the freedom you have to where no one is going, people are more like, hey, they're really the free ones. Homeless people are more free than people who have something to lose. Because you have something to lose, you have to live in this you have to live in norms in order to be accepted in general. And if you have quote unquote anger issues, you're part of the problem. When it was kind of like, I don't know if you guys are into like the autism community. There's these shows about, people on the spectrum, love spectrum. It's funny because people are because it is funny how people are just interacting and they just literally just say what they feel. And it is the most like funny thing because normal couples would not do that. But then what I see is what everyone actually feels and wishes they could say. Like you wish if you met someone and you found them attractive but you just didn't feel comfortable with them yet, you wish you could just say like, nah, I don't like you yet. And say you have to be like, it's such a nice day out, it would just be nicer if we just did this another, you have to beat around the bush, it puts women in positions where they gotta beat around the bush to soften a man's ego, and men have to pretend to be something that they know they're not just to get in your pants to make you feel comfortable. That isn't authentic to their. Where these these two people, they're just like, you smell, and he's like, I rolled in grass earlier. It's just like, well, that's why he smells. And they save half an hour of uncertainty. Now, I know that it doesn't build the suspense or the beautiness of disbelief and all this nonsense. But if you ask me, it's weird how we call people on the spectrum, we call them, quote unquote, the ones that are special or disabled. Really, they're actually the normal ones. They're the ones actually living authentic lives. They're the ones saying what they truly feel. And we accept their anger, but quote unquote someone who's normal, we don't accept their anger because they're not supposed to be like that. I know that, people are going to say you're ignorant for this shit. You have no idea what it's like to raise a kids with special needs. It's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm talking about from a pure, like, beauty, from a pure, genuine spectrum. No pun intended. People with autism and Asperger's and people with these enhanced, they're really the ones that are enhanced. They have the advantages. They see the world from a what it is standpoint. We, in order to fit into the world, to make ourselves feel special, because honestly, us who don't really specialize in anything, we try to be a master of 80 different things, when someone like, Asperger's, they may not be sufficient in a lot of things, but they are so goddamn good at one or two things that when they are locked into that, they can be the best of the best at it. And they have a better chance of making a great living. They have a better chance of being, quote unquote, what we all seek in this world: loyal, genuine, honest. But that's not really what we all want. We all, and I'll say it for myself, like, we all want to be a false version of ourselves because we want to be accepted. We don't want to be seen as someone who's off. We don't want to be seen as someone that you wouldn't want your partner to introduce their friends to. But then part of you's like, hey, I don't need to, Part of you's like, I don't really want to be either. But you also don't want, like, you want to be able to be like, yeah, that's great, your friends want to see me, but fuck them. I'm not speaking about me, by the way. I'm just saying as an example. But the point I'm trying to make is anger and the way we look at it is frowned upon. But without anger, we would never get to the bottom of anything. Without anger, we would just accept everything and we would try to rationalize everything. Like, when you see pedophilia going on, you should be angry. You shouldn't be like, well, you know what? How did that person grow up? Were they abused? Were this and that? I don't give a fuck. This is what you do. Because you know what? I'm judged based off, if I lose my shit in public, no one's going to be like, hey, did he ever feel worthy? No one's going to give a fuck. They're going to be like, this dude's a danger to society. And that's human instinct. You should feel like, hey, I don't know about this guy. So, I don't know. I just, I think sometimes we just need to get, fuck coping. Thank you to the therapist when I was younger, but this podcast is better than therapy, I get to remind myself how ignorant I am. I get to get feedback of how ignorant I am, and I get to just keep going and putting this out to the public till the government comes to my house and says, hey, you went too far with that one. One day, which, by the way, did you know the Pentagon had a McDonald's in it? Mm-hmm. Supposedly. So, there's your fun fact of the day. But yeah. Yep-aroo. I love rain. It's not raining right now. But there's no better feeling than just in the middle of the day, 1 or 2 in the afternoon. You're coming home, and as you're walking to your place, it just starts slowly sprinkling you in your house, and it pours down rain. I don't know what it is about rain. Rain is almost like a reminder. I think why I love rain? I know, I'm not trying to get too hippie here. I really do think rain, especially when you live in an area where it doesn't rain that often. When it does rain, it rains like for a period of time. We may get streaks of it, and then like it's gone. Like, it never rains for too long at a time. It almost feels like it's like God's reset for our insanity, you know? It really does feel like every time it rains, it's almost like a reminder, like, sit in the fucking house. Think about what y'all are doing to this planet. Like, this is my way of giving y'all a break from, stop littering. Stop fucking littering. Which, by the way, this is a true story. Yesterday, I went to the gas station. I went to pick up some of these bad boys from the QT. A nice Sunday, right? I park. And by the way, this has happened twice. Not this incident, but incidents of where you park. I parked on the side of Quick Trip, where there's like 5 or 6 parking spots on the side. It was not that busy. Randomly, there's like 4 parking spots to the left, 3 to the right. Literally within a 1 minute span after I pull in and I'm kind of chilling there, looking at my phone before I go in. Out of all the parking spots, this fucking big ass van reverses, not only just parks next to me, but actually backs in and reverse parks in. So they like put in the effort to be like, ooh, I'm gonna back into here. And you're just looking over like you had 3 spots to the left. You could have just gave yourself more space. Whatever. Then literally 30 seconds later, another small car pulls in to the right of me. And they park right next to fucking me. So now I'm corralled in between when there was the whole front of the store where there's like 15 parking spots. And literally like a couple minutes after that person comes in, I'm still in my car. I'm distracted by my phone. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a victim of consumerism. And all I hear is a boom. And I knew it. I knew what the noise was. And I knew it was a bitch. Nah. Well, it was a girl. It was a young, probably like 20-year-old Asian girl. Not that has anything to do with it. But I was like, I know this is like some young whippersnapper. All I hear is a boom to the back of my vehicle. Now, let me just remind you, I just paid off my vehicle like 4 days prior. So I'm scot-free. But of course, like I said, another one, you're never out of debt. There's always something. There's never anything that's fully paid off. There's always the next thing. And she opens her door and boom, to the side of mine. And I look over and I see her like, she does this. She knocks, she looks through my window and she's like, oh, there's no mark there. And I'm like, first of all, I heard it. You have a white car, my car is black. There's going to be a mark. It's not significant. I didn't even come out. I just looked at her because I was having one of those days and just one of those weeks. And I'm in one of those mindsets where I just don't give a fuck. And I looked at her and I said, don't worry about it. And she's like, okay, I promise there's nothing there. So I leave. I go to the next place. And when I get out of my car, I'm like, let me look over. And I look over. Of course, there's a little white mark from her vehicle. Yep. And the worst part, it's 100% preventable. I did my part. I purposely go to the emptiest parts of parking lots to avoid this shit. And they still find a fucking way. I'm a target. They're hunting my stop loss. But then this morning, I stopped by somewhere to get breakfast, right? At 5:30 in the morning, I am not exaggerating. There is nobody, not a single car on the side of the parking lot. Not a single fucking vehicle. I pull in for 2 minutes. And as I take the keys out of my ignition, I'm in a front row. I'm not exaggerating. There is 18 different parking spots. Just off this row. Plus another lot that's actually closer to the fucking restaurant. And out of all the 13 to the left and 7 to the right, this van backs into a spot right fucking next to me. Literally, right there. And they were playing some Jesus music. And I was like, if Jesus was here right now, he would be like, son, does it have to be right here? You know? And I look, and I was just someone that was like, I didn't want to be bothered. I'm trying to start my day right. And I just look over, and I just look at myself. I'm like, oh, fucking course. Woe me. I'm a victim, you know? Like, you know, I'm just saying, you know, maybe it's like that's God's way of trying to bring community to me. Maybe he's trying to force me to be uncomfortable. I don't fucking know. Or is he trying to get a rise out of me? You gotta use reverse psychology. Like, hey, I know you hate this shit. I'm gonna try to get you mad. But like, you're not gonna do it. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I created you. I know exactly how you fucking are. I know. Kind of losing my shit here. That's 100% a true story. And I'm just like, yep-a-roo. Good times. I will say, you know, a little update sports-wise. I remember when I used to do a sports side of the podcast. I do miss those days when everything was free, you know. You just actually gave a shit about sports. But I did watch most of Game 7 of Denver and OKC. And I'm going to say an unpopular... Well, not unpopular. I'm going to say a part of the game that I don't think people really paid attention to. Honestly, I feel like, and Jokic is literally like, he's one, like, even during the regular season, he is one of the only players I will actually go out of my way to watch an NBA game and illegally stream it. Like, you know, you get me during the regular season to watch a game, you're doing something. I love watching Jokic play. And I watched the game yesterday. Most of it. And there was instances where I felt like he definitely just said, fuck this shit. Especially when they were turning the ball over and when OKC would be on the fast break. There was a couple opportunities. He had an opportunity to contest shots at least. That dude did not try to contest a single shot. And you know what? Maybe he looked as like, I can't get in foul trouble. It's useless. I could block these shots. We're going to go up the court, do a turnover anyways. And it was funny. Jamal Murray did say after the game, they asked him, you know, do you think there's going to be change in the team next year, you know? And he's like, yeah, that's above my pay grade. And someone said, actually, you literally get paid more than like the whole front office. So technically, it's below your pay grade. But, yeah. But I was watching the game, and two things I noticed from a basketball standpoint. I love the way, I got to give props to Aaron Gordon, because obviously he should not have been out there. And he was playing in a way where he knew he couldn't be like the athletic, alley-oop, fast break. Even like jump shots were rough for him. He was trying to actually be more of a ball handler, trying to distribute, and try to be more of like a hovering around the corner, the upper, you know, wing area. He's mainly just trying to wait for a screen and set up a good shot. If a good jump shot was there, he would take it. But you could definitely tell. I remember there was a play. I think he ended up getting fouled on it. But he went in for a drive. And he obviously wasn't going to dunk it. But when he landed, you could just definitely tell. Like, it's not that he re-aggravated the injury, but how timid and scared he was to really, like, even do that play. But he knew he had to do it. But he didn't want to. And then people are like, you know, props to Aaron Gordon, but he just shouldn't have been out there. It's like, okay, well, you know what? If he doesn't go out there and it's an injury that you felt like he could have played through in a Game 7, you guys would have shitted on him anyway. So you can't. We want players to play in situations where they probably shouldn't be out there, because he was a liability defense. You could definitely tell, like, the second, third quarter, he just couldn't laterally move. He was definitely trying to stay in a confined space on defense. He couldn't really help defense in the paint, which really led to a lot of open opportunities. He couldn't really switch. He kind of, like, on defense, kind of stayed around in a corner area and just kind of played a complimentary role where he didn't have to move as much. And, I got to get proud. Like, he played very well considering the circumstance. And there was actually a few people that, like, were like, you just can't be out there. It's like, oh, what? And have Peyton, no disrespect, but Peyton Watson replace him? Julian Strother? Like, come on, man. No disrespect to those guys. But the thing that bothers me about that shit is we all talk about, we want our players, they getting paid to play through shit and all that stuff. And then they play through it, and then like, I shouldn't have been out there. He hurt his team. That was actually selfish. But then if he doesn't play, then he's weak. He's not a competitor. It's like, we got to make if a guy plays to an obvious injury and he shouldn't be out there, then you know what? Just shut the fuck up and be okay with it. And let him decide during the game if, that's when the team's got to step in and be like, hey, he's hurting us. When really, he didn't even hurt them that bad. You could just definitely tell they were limited in what they can do, which is more of a testament to how not great their team was. Because I'm going to give my scouting report Michael Porter Jr. I've never been a really big fan of his game. All he does is just jack up jumpers. And it doesn't really seem like he has a good handle. He doesn't take good shots. There was a period of time where he was like a pretty damn good rebounder. If you were doing the over and under on Prize Picks, like he would be guaranteed to get 6.5 rebounds over almost every game. Now, I know he got hurt recently and stuff, but the point is I don't even feel like he's like a number 3 option on a championship team if we're going to go that route. One, just defensively, he's too much of a liability. He's not really strong enough to really be even potentially a good defensive, respectable defender. Offensively, he's not a guy that can get 20 a game in a playoff game. Like, he doesn't really have an offensive bag to, like, one-on-one do dribbles. Like, he's a good spot-up shooter, but not really spot-up. Like, he's kind of timid. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I watch him play, and he's obviously talented. But I can't understand why they gave him that contract. With the injury history, and on top of, like, this is what he is. And on a game where Aaron Gordon was obviously limited, really a series, like, he just never wanted to step up. It wasn't even like he tried and went, like, 2 for 12 and just shots weren't going. Like, he was invisible. But that being said, they did fire their coach at the end of the year, so I honestly don't feel too bad for them. Regardless, like, I don't feel like they played significantly better offense or better defense changing coaches. I felt like that was more of a personal upper, ownership with him. Like, I don't get when you're a winning team going to the playoffs in a decent seed and you fire your head coach 10 games before the playoffs start. That makes no fucking sense. I don't care what rationale you try to make of it. If you do it halfway through the season like the Cavs did with Ty Lue that one year with David Blatt, that's another thing. In that sense, no sympathy whatsoever. And honestly, I really don't feel like Jokic really. I feel like he loves basketball. He just does not give a fuck about the NBA shit. He does not give a fuck about the fanfare. He does not give a fuck about the celebrity aspect. He doesn't give a fuck about being a star like how the NBA would want him to be. Like in the off season, he goes to Serbia, rides horses, drinks beer. It is kind of funny. I will say, it's kind of funny. He literally says after losing Game 7, getting clobbered, like, hey, what are you going to do this offseason? Like, I'm going to enjoy some beer. When literally they shitted on Luka. They shitted on Luka for being hookah Luka. And the Lakers literally put out an ad. This is not, like, they legitimately put out an ad for a new weight room trainer or whatever. New trainer for the team, essentially. And it says someone who takes their job serious. And it's like, well, look, you can have the greatest weight room trainer and all that good shit. Team trainer, weight room physician, nutritionist. Like, in the day, the guys have got to be the one to apply it. I just feel like Luka's just one of those. He's kind of like, it's weird. I honestly think he would not be as good. I feel like he would be one that actually gets hurt more. And his game, he wouldn't be as proficient if he was shredded or in NBA shape. Now, if he cut down a few pounds to be more, durable and have more stamina and stuff like that, yeah, that would obviously help. But I think people wanting him to get down to 210 pounds, look like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out there, look like Anthony Edwards. I honestly think he would, I feel like if Jokic, the same way, if Jokic got jacked and ripped, I honestly think that would be less helpful to his game. Because I do think the extra weight, quote unquote, the extra fat he carries, kind of makes his game the way it is. It makes it a lot more smoother, believe it or not. He's not as his muscles aren't as rigid. It's not as restrictive. And only people with muscle understand what I'm talking about. No, but to me, yeah, I will say I am enjoying the playoffs. I actually have been watching the playoffs pretty regularly. So it's been pretty nice. It's kind of been the first time in a while I've enjoyed watching the NBA. Because I stopped watching the NBA for years. Not necessarily on purpose. I just didn't have time with jobs I had and blah, blah, blah. No one gives a fuck. But yeah. Yipperoo. Pepperoni nipples. I'm going to release, this is true, I am going to release a video of I found in my YouTube studio. It's an old video me and my friend we used to rap. I may drop it for you guys, for any new listeners out there. Shout out to the new listeners out there. The podcast audio-wise has been growing pretty decently. I know I took a little break for a while, so it's going to take a little bit while to get the consistency back, but I promise you guys. Oh my God. But yeah. I don't know what it is, I think addictions are, kind of like I was talking about earlier. I don't know if earlier. I think there's a few things I have addictions to, but I don't even, it's going to sound like I'm rationalizing them. I wouldn't even call them addictions. I would call them, now here's some current 2025 woman gaslighting shit that you see on TikTok. It's like, I'm not a cheater. I'm an explorer. It's, I'm not a caffeine addict. I'm a caffeine user for production. Because it really does feel, to me, even from like the first episodes I did, I would drink Ghost energy drinks with my show. And it had nothing to do with like when I drink them, I feel this energized. It's like my body responds to know like when I drink this, you know what time it is, boy. Because that's the only time I drink energy. And there's zero sugar. There's no after effects. Look, you drink too much of anything, it's unhealthy. I'm not going to sit here and say this shit's healthy. Because if you're too caffeinated, it can obviously fuck up a lot of shit. But drink one of these and drink a monster full of sugar. You're going to feel two completely different ways. I feel clear-minded, clear-headed. And for some reason, it just gets my mind. It has trained my mind. It's like it's like these women that marry prisoners, you know? There was a married woman I read. I mean, obviously it's happened before, but recently, a married woman left her husband, got catfished by a guy in prison. He didn't lie to say he was a prisoner in the prison that he said he was. She got there, but he looked a lot different. He looked like 70 pounds heavier, completely different race, complete different everything. And she still married him, even though he this man catfished her from prison. And the thing he catfished her about wasn't even about that he was in prison. It was just the way he looked. It's like, first of all, if a woman's coming to see you when you're in prison, obviously the looks have gone out of the way. You know, the standards have gone out of the window. Like, you're in. Like, imagine going through all those lengths. Like, look, I'll be honest with you. She probably would have wished you just lied about, like, not being in prison. It's like, oh, that's what you lied about? I thought it was a prison thing. But she left her husband. She was married to for, like, 12 years. And they had a child. And there was no instances of anything. It was literally out of nowhere. And she had the audacity. This man's not going to be out of prison for another, quote unquote, 10 years. She had the audacity to have, because she wanted to divorce her husband, to have not only her have child support for their child, but to have spousal support and to have a separate fund that would contribute to building a fund for the prisoner. So when he gets out of prison, the money that he's been putting in, like this is a Roth IRA or 401k, but for a prisoner. So he has something to work with when he gets out of prison. It's like a trust fund for a baby, but it's for a prisoner. Imagine, like... But the fact that could even potentially happen, someone actually like divorced, really went through a lawsuit, request these things with a credible lawyer that's like, oh yeah, we can make that happen. Luckily, I don't think it did happen, that part. The fact that they actually had the audacity to like follow through with it and be like, yeah, we'll try it. Doesn't hurt to try. That just goes to show the state of our court system, our legal system. But yeah. Sorry, I thought I heard some. But meep. Oh baby, look at them titties. I can't wait to go to prison. I will say, I've thought about this in my head. If I were to go to prison, what would be the most likely cases? I'm not an abusive guy, so that's out the window. I don't avoid taxes. In order to go to prison for taxes, let's be honest, you have to really owe a lot of taxes. If you think you're going to prison because you haven't paid $4,000 in taxes in the past 2 years, okay. They ain't wasting their time with that. They're just going to keep coming after your ass and make your life miserable where you wish you were in prison. It is also interesting. There's so much. I forgot her name. She's a CPA. What she does like YouTube shorts, probably TikTok and stuff, where she'll start the video where it's playing a clip of someone online who's trying to give some tax financial advice. And it's always people that are like, well, if you run a business and you claim your kids as an employee, you can legally pay them $30,000 a year, write it off as a child tax credit, and you can write it off in tax and save on all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, if it's reasonable, if they're actually helping you, not just because they're your 6-year-old child for your landscaping business. You can't just count them as an employee. And it's amazing, just as someone who's just spitting shit into this mic anyways, it's amazing to me how confident people go out there to give financial advice of that degree that someone be like, oh shit, let me just add this. Then they go file the tax and they realize, oh, well, I mean, no, you still have to pay tax on this shit. And then they just, yeah, but this guy, it's always fun when people try to give financial advice. Financial advice is one of those things. I honestly don't believe you should go to anyone for advice. Honestly, don't really think you should go to a financial expert for advice. I honestly think you should just live your whole life and just pray for the best. Because at least if you get fucked, you can't be mad at nobody. You don't have to worry about someone taking percentage. Like, imagine, like, because the reality is a tax expert for like 80% of people, if someone just brought their taxes to them, they could easily say their return was less and take a portion without that person even knowing. That's the crazy part. You know what? And it could probably work on me, except it probably wouldn't, because with how much I've made, I'm probably going to know a difference. It's not that much. But it's weird, like, if you're making $300,000 a year and you just know you're going to owe like $10K in taxes, right? Like, you know, if they say, hey, you know, you're going to owe $12K this year, and then they pocket, you know, a couple grand themselves, you're probably not going to look over everything they put in and see if it's actually true. Probably going to take their word, go about your day. You're already paying them. Like, we're all just illiterate fucks. I really do want to start, like, reading. You know, I always think this shit's corny, right? Reading, like, the 48 Laws of Power, Machiavelli. Like, I felt like those things, they would be very beneficial to know and learn. But I think when you get to a certain age, I don't really know how helpful that stuff is. Like, it just, books are a form of entertainment. They're only, I don't know, you know, I feel like books is one of those things where we just assume that it's a more relegated, it's a more real form of content, it's a more real form of education than like internet or YouTube and stuff like that. And it is. Like, if you're reading an original book from the 80s, there's probably a lot of thought, editing process. The person, like, people when they used to write books, like, that was their lives. Because they had to put their whole life into a book to be engaging, to get lost in a fantasy, or to get lost into really making you attach and entertained. Where nowadays, bro, like, if you look at how a lot of these books are made, like, especially like, have you ever seen those books where it's like, it's an autobiography of like Shaq, but it's forwarded by a writer and then edited by another person? And it's like, so what does Shaq have to do with this? Like, you know, he was there. We're going to write whatever the fuck anyways. He just wanted a piece of the pie. And that, a lot of these, like, there's not many, like, authors, if that makes sense. Like, authors actually creating originality, whether that's fantasy book, fiction, adventurous. Like, there's no Junie B. Jones series coming out. There's no, Lord of the Rings. Back in the day when the Hunger Games was a thing before it became movies, like, stuff that, like, starts as books and becomes bigger than life. And then maybe they get adapted into a film, But that's just not a thing anymore. Nowadays, the only time people read books if it's like a form of inspiration, like a figure, like a celebrity figure. Most of my books, and I've read most of them, they are mostly biographical of some sort, or they're just an opinionated from a person I like, and they're telling stories from their perspective that's probably mostly true in some fiction. Like my favorite radio host of all time, Colin Cowherd. He has 2 books. Or maybe 1. I know I have 1 or 2 of them. So whatever. I have this book called Only Assholes Win by Ross. Not Ross Tucker. It's like, God, what's the guy's name? Tucker something. It is actually a pretty interesting book. It's not what you think. It's not like actually about like how being an asshole is the way to win in life. But what it does is like the book is a guy's true life perspective of how being an asshole actually got him more of what he wanted than not. But it's not about being an asshole. It's about being willing to not be liked and pushing past those boundaries. You get what I'm trying to say. There's actually a real point to it. But it still takes stuff like that to keep me interested. Because for one, there's no financial benefit. Let's just call it what it is to have it Ernest Hemingway these days. Or what's that guy? Or David Foster Wallace. Like, there's not really much of a financial benefit unless they use other avenues to promote the book. But the book is very secondary. You have to be the way I would put it is, back then it was about being invested in the story in the book, and then you learn the author, and then you get fascinated by the author. Then you fall down the rabbit hole of stuff they written. Now it's reverse. You have to know. You have to be invested in the person in order to read or listen audiobook wise to the shit they wrote. So because it's almost like we gotta have confirmation of what we're getting into. We need to know what this person's about before we take that leap of risk, because we feel like our time is so much more valuable than it really is compared to the 90s. I think that's what it really is. That's just a theory. But yeah. What's interesting? United Health. It's odd. I'm so anti-health insurance. Not like anti-having it. But, we all know the sketchiness of what these corporations do and stuff. And obviously with the assassination of the CEO, it kind of layers it a little bit. He layered into him, all right. But I think what it digs deeper into, in my opinion, is we have too much of polar opposites in this world of rationalization. I kind of tied into this. There was first of all, I haven't watched Tim Pool in a long time. I've never really sat down and watched an entire 3-hour stream of his, because I honestly think watching news and opinionated news is the biggest waste of time ever. And it's funny how a lot of these independent, quote-unquote, journalists are these opinionated people about politics and stuff. And I'm not pointing out Tim Pool. It's really just the whole landscape. It's funny how they try to point out the obvious, missed, oblivious things that people miss. And yet, you watch them, and there's obvious and oblivious things that they're oblivious to. And then people watch you, and there's things that you're oblivious to. And then you watch them watching you, and there's things that they're oblivious to. And it's a cycle of we are just all oblivious to just want to be right. I think more than anything, people just want to be right. It's not about open conversation or discussion. When you place a bet, you don't care about the process and be like, hey, you know what? It didn't work out. But you know what? I really love my process. Like, no, you want to be fucking right. And when it comes to, it's ironic because Sam Cedar is a political YouTuber in a way. He has some called the Majority Report. And he did a video reviewing the Tim Pool and Adam Conover discussion. And just by the way they're talking, like, it's so obvious about political leanings that I can't even watch this video seriously. And I don't care about politics. I don't care about people's ideologies like that. It's not, I don't really worry my day about that shit. But they're really sitting here, and like no one with an objective point of view would really sit here and be like, dude, Adam Conover, he destroyed Tim. Because no, he didn't. Adam Conover can't destroy anything but, you know, people's brain cells listening to him. Because he's done podcast interviews in the past where he's just flat out shit the bed. Which is not a problem except when you shit the bed and then continuously just die on this hill. And the worst part is he really thinks he's like doing something out there. And for me, watching people in the political space react to other political discussions, and it's obvious that they're not really listening or watching what's happening, because anyone with an objective point of view would be like, this is an embarrassment for everyone involved. And yet they're really sitting here, and we take these conversation wins. We take these gotcha wins. It's like, it really would be like if Deontay Wilder went into the ring with, you know, Tank Davis. There's a big weight class issue. There's an obvious distance in the fairness of this match. Regardless of what you think about Tim Pool, he's just more equipped to debate than this Adam guy. I'm not a debater. I would never go on a show to debate anyone about anything, regardless of interest. That's not something I would do. There's a certain skill set you gotta have that, and Tim has that. You know, I don't really like or care for the dude, but it's obvious he's cut out for that. But for me personally, I'm just watching, and it just like it just reminds me that you cannot take anything out here serious. Commentary, political commentary, social commentary, sport takes, like you can't even take ESPN serious when you're trying to watch a sports take, them talking about the previous night's playoff games. And they're sitting here somehow fusing it to LeBron and the Lakers. Somehow trying to fuse it to, Giannis leaving Milwaukee. Is like, dude, they're not in the playoffs. What the fuck does that have to do with the Pacers? You know, everything has nothing to do with anything, and it's obvious. It's the definition of just trying to get to an agenda to what they think people care about. But can I be honest with you? No one is fascinated with the Knicks anymore like they say they are. It's good that the Knicks are relevant again. You know, my dad, he's a Knicks fan. But when it comes to just the sports landscape obsession, it's like, it's funny how media always talks about, we talk about these things because this is what the people watch and listen to. I think it's because it's just what, if you just talk about and push something enough, people are forced to listen to it and they just accept this is what we have to listen to. That's why I stopped watching First Take a long time ago. Because even after Skip and whoever, it's always sports debate television shows. It's always just about, somehow it's MJ LeBron, somehow it's, oh, Donovan Mitchell isn't this, somehow it's, this is the Knicks year. It's like, well, now it's finally the Knicks fucking year. It hasn't been the Knicks years for a lot of years. They're trying to force Anthony Edwards to be the next Michael Jordan. He's really good. I wouldn't say he's there yet. We try to push things and then we tear things down. It's like this Jokic versus Shea. It's so, we're literally just complaining about how great these two players are. And we're saying like, Jokic, he doesn't do this the way Shea does. It's like, yeah, Shea doesn't do this the way Jokic does. It doesn't carry a team, all this stuff. It's like, bro, like, it's the repetitive nature of sports television, the repetitive nature of political television, or YouTube, I guess. These pundits that are in position with platforms, whether it's on a network or they created theirs online, the point goes to remain, there's no such thing as unbiased media anymore. I even saw a clip, and I even watched the whole interview, but it's just obvious from the jump. This CNN interview that they did with Tim Dillon, they were kind of forced to put out. Because he kept saying, like, yeah, I did one. They didn't want to put it out because I made them very uncomfortable. And just listen to the first 8 minutes. It's like, why have this lady, and he was being nice, why have this lady be put in this position? Like, the network putting that lady in that position is criminal. Like, they're the ones, they did her dirty by putting her in that position. Because it's very, very obvious she's highly uncomfortable. She doesn't really, she was so slow in just trying to put sentences together because she knows on her network it's all about imagery. It's all about fitting in. And it's funny how these people that work for these networks at ESPN, they say, they never tell us what to say. It's like, yeah, but they give airtime based off what they know, X, Y, and Z, that you fit in, It's not about your beliefs. It's the fact of the matter is, this is why no one takes TV or media. I think media is in a dangerous territory of not being taken seriously anymore. There's a hot take. There. Hey, it took me 11 minutes. I picked up a mic today and I said, fuck it. We're doing 2 episodes in 2 fucking straight days. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about, but there it is. Media cannot be taken serious. And we're on a very dangerous precipice of media being the laughing stock. Media is so used to being in control. Like the crazy things that happened in the 80s and 90s. Like if you guys don't know, Skip Bayless wrote a book on the Cowboys and literally tried to allege that Troy Aikman was gay, right? And it's like, what would make a reporter, let's just say that was true. Let's say they did. Why put that in a book that's supposed to be about the Cowboys? One, it's like the definition of clout chasing. And these are the same media members that tried to tell you, ones that I was a reporter in the 90s. We had to wait in the 76ers waiting room to talk to AI. Oh, well, the things I saw with Clyde Drexler in 97. Oh, in Phoenix and all this, It's like all this stuff they talk about, stuff they saw. So they have the credibility to be taken serious, and they try to discredit the current media, and realizing the stuff they try to expose about the past when it's not necessary is cloud chasing. You know? What does Skip Bayless get out of saying shit like that? Wrote a whole book, monetized it, got paid, made money off making allegations of that nature. Nowadays, bro, if someone were to come out in public, a media member were to come out and say that shit, even suggesting on TV, like calling someone zesty, you know, which, by the way, what is it? Jared McCain on the Sixers, right? Him and Jalen Green, a lot of people on the internet shit on them for nail polishing. Draymond Green made a comment after a game, basically throwing shade, no pun intended, at Jalen about man, let him worry about his nails. Basically, there's people online, you know, making fun of Jared McCain for nail polish and stuff like that. The point I'm trying to make there is people are so afraid to be perceived a certain way. These media members now don't call it how they see it. They call it what will get them attention and be accepted. Like Skip Bayless would never come out now and accuse someone of, or even suggesting someone, sexuality. Now, we'll call LeBron the biggest bum in the history of the NBA, overrated. He's never this, he's never that. But he would never come out now and accuse a star quarterback or any player of any sport, even with full evidence of that if they were gay or not. And I'm using that as an example because it goes to show that media has never been something we should take too serious. We want to pretend that media, sports, and political media is supposed to be this thing where we're supposed to just take journalists' words for everything. They always mention these sources that, I get it, they can't disclose the sources, but at the same time, think about, they're receiving gossip information. It's a gossip business, but it's gossip of sports. Let's just call it what it is. And they talk about sources. There's someone being deceptive within an organization, giving out information to, quote unquote, protect the image of an owner, protect the image of a GM, maybe in some cases, and good for the player. But like, hey, this guy's going out there playing, but he's playing with basically no ligaments in his knee. So that's why there's a drop off. But, you know, and it's all these things are like, it's a toxic culture here. No one wants to talk about it. And they're either just putting things out there. It's funny because Colin Cowherd said when there's a quote-unquote anonymous, when there's reports and sources of information, it's because there's someone that wants it out there. And it's just drama. And sports and politics have just become drama. And I gotta say, you know, I'm not pro any politician. I will say though, like, when someone interviewed Trump and they asked him about Biden's prognosis, I guess you call it, of him being diagnosed with prostate cancer, like, it was almost hysterically funny what he said, but not funny because it's actually funny, because it's almost like, oh my God, this guy really is just about that, being all into himself. He found a way to make someone having prostate cancer be like, well, you know, I'm not going to do our impersonation because I can't. But he's like, well, you know, we have when I did my medical report, my physical, it was great. Wasn't it great? Yeah, it was great. Passed. But, you know, I guess they didn't held him to the same standard. All this stuff. And it's like, bro, all you have to say is be like, you know, that's unfortunate to hear. We obviously hope he gets better. And then, you know, you can make some jab about their presidency and stuff like that, their administration. But somehow he found a way to make something about how, oh, really? Oh, everyone saw he was falling. Everyone knew there was something wrong with the guy. But that's why you can't take politics or sports serious. Stuff like that. There's no genuine, real moments. The most genuine, real moment that happened in recent memory was when Giannis and Tyrese's dad got into it after a game, and really it was just Tyrese's dad kind of being an asshole for no reason. Giannis just walking off the court after a tough loss, minding his business. And then, but the post game, he addressed it in such a legitimate, professional, respectful, but a realness behind it. Like, he was professional. But you could definitely tell that came like from genuine heart of how he felt about what is wrong with that situation. And that right there is probably one of the most, that's why people like Giannis, he's one of my favorite athletes. Regardless of the flaws people have in his game, dude's top 5 MVP for like 7 straight years. He's still dominant, even like, you're dominant when even with those obvious limitations like shooting and stuff in your game, they still can't stop you. That's how you know you are legitimately dominant. And just like from a role model, like there's anyone you want as the epitome of your city, it would be Giannis. Like, he is a definition of the dream franchise player. Came into the league. No one thought he was going to be this. He was a quote unquote project, as they call it. Skinny, lanky, like, people don't realize, like, year 5 and 6, this dude looked like a god. They call him the Greek god because he looked like a god. But when he came in, he legitimately looked like Chet Holmgren, who is so not weak, but he's so not physically developed enough. As a 7-footer against the Nuggets, they're like, hey, we're going to put Alex Caruso on Jokic because at least Alex Caruso's got a base. Like, you don't dunk looking like him if you ain't got lower legs, He's like, well, look, man, we don't need you to be dunking. We need you to actually just be annoying as fuck. And boy, he did. And I don't know, but there are people saying it's one of the greatest Game 7 adjustments in playoff history. I don't have the basketball encyclopedia to prove it, but I was watching the game, and I was like, this shit's kind of working. Because I think the reason why it worked, there's a psychological thing. When you're a big man like Jokic, and they put, what is Caruso, 6'4", 6'5", maybe? And they put someone like that on you. Like, you're supposed to get the ball and dominate, and they can't even get a good entry past them. It gets one. Someone comes from the weak side, bats it out, and that's what created that momentum of the fast break turnovers. It wasn't that Caruso was blocking shots or just like, one-on-one just playing good post defense. He was putting himself in position for other players to help when Jokic would have his back towards the basket and waiting for plays to develop, and that hesitation created those opportunities for turnovers. But that psychological of when someone's smaller, that much smaller than you, and you're having trouble scoring, I think there's a psychological. Like, that was a better proposition putting a 7-footer on him. That's the crazy part, Well, Aaron Gordon being on one leg probably didn't help either. But, But that's the beauty of sports. It's not perfect. But yeah, politics, sports, absolutely hate it. Not sports. I hate politics. If there was any political position I were to do, I don't know what I would want to do. I wouldn't want to be the president. Not that it's happening anytime soon. You know, I'm not 35 yet. That's the only thing stopping me. I'm not 35. Oops. Would I want to be a senator? Would I? Wouldn't want to be a whore. House of Representative. Because I'm not a horny guy. And all those people, they're just horn dogs, bro. Yeah, it's weird. It's like being a politician representative. It's like politicians, think about it, politicians don't even sleep with each other. You know, typically like you're in an environment, typically everyone sleeps around with each other. It doesn't really seem like a lot of guy politicians are sleeping with woman politicians. It seems like they go way outside the political realm. Guys are getting with, you know, typically prostitutes. You have Matt Gaetz connecting with 15-year-olds in Florida. You got, you know, you got a lot of dudes that are in the closet. You got women who are, you know, wearing suits. Most of the women just have regular husbands at home who are in finance, and then they get the insider trading going, you know. There's not really, other than like Bill and Hillary Clinton. Well, we all know what happened in between that. There's not political couples, meaning they were established political figures before they became a couple. Now, there's couples who, like, you know, they married and were together before they became, you know, the mayor or senator. And then just by being part of their life, they got exposure and first lady and stuff like that. But there's not many that were like, she was a Democratic senator in Maine. And this one, was a, you know, with the governor of Texas. And then they became a thing, you know. That just doesn't happen. And then there's the old famous, was it Larry Falwell? The guy at Liberty? The not priest, but like the board of directors, basically I don't even know what they call it, the fucking dean of the school. And this man, he's just like watching he legitimately like watching his wife with a literal pool boy. And that's a weird thing, you know? To be part of, you know, God's country, and besides that, just watch. You know, I'm not much of a watcher, but you know, to each their own. Look it up. I don't even want to look. I hate looking at God damn it. This is why I fucking hate looking at my trades. It just makes my mood feel like shit. I mean, god damn. Could anything go more wrong today? The definition of holding on when you shouldn't. Story of my fucking life. Sorry about that. I absolutely, man, I just can't do anything fucking right, man. But near here, nor there. You know, it's just so frustrating. Like, everything you fucking do, it just doesn't work, man. Like, that's why I quit my job again. Snuck that in there. No one listens or watches. It's cool. Who gives a fuck? It's all just a fugazi. Fuck! I'm starting to get Tourette's, man. Like, my anger is starting to get out of this fucking world. Like, no matter what I fucking do, shit just doesn't fucking work. I'm a fucking idiot. There's some words of affirmation for you, God. Fuck you, God. All right, now back to the program. Got that out of my system. Yeah, you know. We don't want to get FaceTime with ditties with my girl. I feel like there has to be context to that. Did he do it? Of course he did. Yeah. You know, sometimes it's okay to just have silence. You know, you don't always have to have something to say. They say silence is golden. And, you know, maybe I'm just, you know, it's just best if I just silence myself and end this existence. Oh, God. I know. You're overreacting, Clint. It's not that bad. It's not that great either. That's the thing, you know, I am pro assisted suicide, you know. I am. I just think that, you know, someone should have the right to be like, this life isn't worth living. I mean, who am I to say what you can or can't do? I honestly think, like, the more and more I grow with age, I get it, man. You know, people will guilt you into not wanting to, and I'm not speaking about me. But, like, I was out earlier, and I walk outside, and there's a woman outside the door, and she was very nice about it. She was like, hey, would you happen to be able to help me today? And I just said, look, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash on me. She didn't try to ask me if I could get this. She's like, okay, I understand. And she wasn't angry about it. And there was a part of me that felt bad because it's like, damn, I can't even help someone in need. And creates a cycle. You can't help someone can't help you. Then those who can help feel like everyone's a problem. Then those who need to be helped feel like a problem. And it's a downward vicious cycle where people just can't do nothing for themselves, you know? It's sad. It's genuinely sad. And I genuinely feel bad that I couldn't help that lady. Because it's like a deeper issue that we put all of our time into things. And it just, there's people, like, I look at that person, I'm like, I wonder what things they tried to achieve and be happy with, and this is what happened, you know? What did they do wrong? It's scary to think about. Like, what did this person do wrong to deserve to be here? And for me, as I'm watching, I'm just like, I mean, that could be me. One day asking someone for help, and they give me the same answer. Like, hey, I would, but I just can't, you know? And we obviously always can, but at the same time, I'm helping you at the expense of what for me? And that's a very, very shaky place to be in. Is living in a way that is an endless cycle of you can't be helped and you can't help, you know? I felt so bad because she looked like a genuine loving soul. She didn't look like she was trying to mooch off people. She didn't look like she was trying to be, you know, deceptive. She wasn't trying to get something she felt like was out of reach. She didn't ask. She didn't ask for a specific amount. Like, if I would have gave her $1, she would have just said, thank you, God bless. And, you know, I've run this and where I gave someone $1, like, hey, in order to eat tonight, I'm going to need a few more than that. And I said, well, I guess you are going to need a few more than that. And I kept it moving. But what if that's you? Like, we are all just a couple bad mistakes away from being there. Not necessarily. Some people go about it different. They may not be on the corner selling the cooch, but they may have to get a little smooch, you know? Because there's different ways of making it out here. People think it's all just begging for money, you know, giving a little toot. Some people make it designed like they're in full-fledged relationships with people. They have someone fall in love with them, and they make people feel special. They feel like easy targets where if they just love bomb them, or if they just make them feel good and they just make them feel like a king or a queen, they get them do whatever they want. And that is a much more dangerous precedent because it's hide behind an illusion or a disguise without even trying to be of, I don't even want to say manipulation, but of I got to do what I got to do. But it's not disguised because people say what they want about prostitution or arranged marriages or sugar daddies and all that stuff. At least those, it's straightforward. Like, yep, it's not hide behind I love you unconditionally. And behind that, people will typically be more giving and giving. You will get more out of someone who just wants to give you the world. That's where the most dangerous power. That's where you get Larsa Pippen coming into play saying, you know, people act like I knew Michael Jordan's son before that. Like, we met at a party just a few years ago and this and that. I met this person years ago. You know, it's like you are dating the best player of all time's son, who your ex-husband just happened to be his teammate. And not just any teammate, the teammate. You know? And that's the crazy part. And she, like, imagine being Michael Jordan's son, or I forgot who I saw where she dated someone in recent memory, and she blamed it on COVID brain. For one, not a thing. COVID brain is not a thing to where you just, I'm just going to date a whole different type of person. Out of all the people in the world, you choose him. Whatever, you know. But that's the thing. Don't blame COVID brain. Just say, you wanted some schlong. But yeah. It is just getting worse. I'm an absolute garbage human being. I'm exaggerating. I'm not that bad. But this is not a good feeling. There's nothing worse than just watching hopelessness that you can't do nothing about. You know, that homeless woman, I don't even know if she was homeless, but that woman, she just reminds me of my trading account. It just, I would do more for you, but I can't figure the shit out either, you know? Yeah. But I don't know, you know? Another day, another dollar. Shot caller. So yeah. But yeah, what you gonna do when they come for you, baby? I'll be there for you. So yeah. Good times, you know? Good times, good times, good times. You know what they say? A child a day keeps the rabies away. Well, not this guy. I don't even know what I'm doing now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I picked up a mic today. This is probably one of the worst fucking... You know what? Thank God for editing. I cannot tell you what editing can do. It can do a lot for you. Yeah. Hot diggity dog. It's a brand new day. What you waiting for? It's problem solved. Yeah, so just for any of the new traders out there, when you lose one time on a company, Walmart is fucking me in the butt right now. Yeah, they're trying to help with the tariffs, but it ain't helping a whole lot. I'm just getting railroaded right now. Getting absolutely booty demolished. And there's nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do to stop it. Yep. That is the optimism we're coming around with today. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. But you can be you. And it's still doo-doo. Yeah. Oh, well. Shit. It's stressful out here, though. I will say, I do feel bad for homeless. I do feel bad for people that ask people for help. Like, I couldn't imagine. I don't have the confidence to stand somewhere and every person that walks by ask him for something. I just don't. And it is a skill. It is a confidence you have to have. And, I know it's desperation. It's not confidence. It's like, you stand outside and do it. Even in desperation, I would rather just die on the street. As bad as that sounds. It's almost like I would rather just fail at this life miserably and go down with the ship sinking and call it a day. There's really none. Like, what can you do at that point? Because you ask for help these days, and according to online and YouTube and social media, like, help is a sign of weakness. If you get help, you're the problem. If you don't ask for help, you're the problem. If you are the help, you're the problem. There's no help. Hot diggity dog. Now problem solved. I know I'm heavily distracted right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This shit is just pissing me the fuck off, bro. Like, how does shit get this fucking bad, bro? Like, I don't understand how shit gets this fucking bad. How the actual fuck is this happening? That's the thing, bro. Like, you literally look away for 5 fucking minutes and shit just hits the fan. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's literally nothing you can do about this shit. Well, except the market is absolutely dumping. I guess just hold on to everything. That's the moral of the story. I know I'm severely distracted right now. And that's okay, This episode's shit. Life is shit. I'm shit. I'll always be shit. And I ain't shit, We just ain't shit. I'll sell that. This is why I don't like recording at this time of day. It's just too much, I got focused on too much, and then here I am being an absolute I'm a degenerate of your time. I'm wasting your time. I'm wasting my time. I'm just a waste of time. If you're going to waste your time, do not waste your time with me. Honestly. Do not. Yeah. God, I'm such, and people don't like to hear, oh, you talk badly about yourself. It's like, you know what? Sometimes we all need honesty. Sometimes we ain't shit. We are the definition of we ain't shit. I get it, ladies. I ain't shit. We ain't shit. Y'all ain't shit. I've been an absolute piece of shit my whole fucking life, Don't talk about yourself like that. It's like, bro, I've tried fucking everything, bro. You have no fucking idea. All the shit I've tried. And I just can't figure it out. Like, I don't think you understand the frustration that comes with that. Dude, like, what is going on right now? Dude, everything is absolutely getting dumped on me. Dude, I've never seen such a massive dump in my life, bro. And I've taken some massive dumps. I've taken some logs. Yeah. I don't know, What are you going to do? This is the life we live. It's the life we choose. We can't complain when we voluntarily stay. Tell that to every abusive victim. Don't complain if you always stayed, ho. I want to apologize. Like, I should not be doing that episode right now, but this is why I don't have any fun. Like, I have time during the day, but I don't really have time during the day. If that makes sense. I'm just a piece of fucking shit. There, I said it. I'm a piece of fucking shit. Is this satire? Maybe to an extent. Barstool, hire me. I'm a piece of shit. Fuck! Now that was real. And that's real Tourette's, kids. Just anger. Fucking anger. I have a legitimate issue, man. And I'm okay. I have a fucking issue. But I'm okay. I'm supposed to have fucking issues. I'm not supposed to stand around, pretend everything's fucking great. I have fucking issues. All this peace, love, and happiness. It doesn't fucking exist. Peace, what the fuck is, peace isn't real. Peace is lying to yourself that you don't live in any conflict. Happiness? Have you ever met someone over the age of 30 that was happy? Absolutely not. And the ones you thought were happy, you know what happened? These online influencers, they killed themselves. So they weren't happy either. All this shit that y'all seek, it sucks. It's garbage. You're garbage. I'm garbage. I don't even take the garbage out because I'm garbage. I have no desire to be great. I have no desire to want to do shit. How does that feel, huh? When you have no desire to want to be better. What are you supposed to do? Have no desire to want to be better. Yeah. Now that's some truth a lot of people can't handle. Accepting that you ain't shit. Sometimes it's okay. Accepting you ain't shit doesn't necessarily mean that you're a piece of shit. It just means that that's all you are, is what you are. When you shit in the toilet, what do you see? A piece of shit. Is there anything more than a piece of shit? No. Is there anything less than a piece of shit? No. It's a piece of shit. So when people look at you, just know they just see you for what you are. Nothing more, nothing less. Some of us got little corn nuggets in there. Some of us got little ridges. Some of us are big. Some of us are slimy. Some of us are scattered all over the place. Some of us make unnecessary noises when we talk. Meep, meep. That's you when you're splurting butt out of your ass, butt juice. Who needs beetle juice when you got buttle juice? Clint, that's a knee slapper. When's the last time you've had your knee slapped? Or your knees clapped? A peep pat patty whack? I don't know. We're all just pieces of absolute shit. And then the market just absolutely runs the fuck up. I generally do not know what the fuck is going on. Oh well, no one knows anything. We're all here. Almost, look, we're doing it fucking live. And I'm doing this live. I do not know what is going on.
These bondholders selling their American bonds to buy local Japanese bonds as a result of the yield going higher there. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Good call out by you. Here's a look at Tesla up 2 1/5. And the Elon interview on CNBC is now done. He's off the air.
Yeah, I'm watching the news while doing a podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
The market reacts. Let's look at some of the headlines that he made there. CEO Elon Musk says he expects to have hundreds of thousands of self-driving Teslas by the end of the year. Looks forward to expanding self-driving to San Francisco and LA after launching in Texas. And looking for similar services to Uber and Airbnb, which was kind of the next topic there. Elon Musk says he's in talks with major automakers to license FSD. That could be a great source of revenue for Tesla, aside from the robo-taxis.
This is a part of trading people don't want to talk to you about. Like, you have to watch all these fucking news. And this is why, people go fucking crazy, bro. You can't even, walk away for 2 fucking seconds. I can't record an episode without shit hitting the fucking fan. Or otherwise, I might actually hit the fucking fan. That's what's happening right now. I'm losing my fucking mind. I don't know whether to close a position, open a position. Oh well, you know what? Fuck it. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, I'm just going to end the episode there because I can't even focus right now because I got so much shit going on. But yeah, that was episode. I don't even know. I'll probably combine this with one. Most definitely. Yeah, have a great day, morning, night, evening.